So, my guest today is Dr. Danielle Griffin. She's a speaker and educator, coach, and author of the book Somatic Exercise Made Simple. She's also been recognized as the best pain and stress management expert in Houston, Texas. Dr. Griffin works with corporations and individuals to empower them to understand their bodies and minds. In today's episode, we're going to explore the crucial connection between mind-body well-being and hormonal health, and how Dr. Griffin's techniques can be valuable for individuals considering or undergoing TRT. Dr. Griffin, welcome to the show. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I've gone back and forth between I'm going to do video, I'm not going to do video for years because of things just like this. So thanks for sticking with us.
No problem.
I'm excited to chat today. Can you share a little bit about your journey and what led you to focus on mind-body connection and somatic practices?
Yeah. So my background, I have a little bit of yoga background as well as this hypnotherapy certification. But the reason I got into somatics had nothing to do with those things. During COVID in 2021, both my husband and I both lost our fathers. Um, we just had our second child. So I was also postpartum, and we were just dealing with a lot of stress, emotional trauma from losing our parents. We both have our own businesses, working jobs, things of that nature. Um, and just the mounting stress and grief was overwhelming for the both of us. And not understanding that we were both going through something similar, but in our own ways, as well as, um, the process of aging, right? Him being a male and being a woman, we're both going through our own hormonal changes during this time. We're both in our 40s. Um, and again, just not understanding what our bodies are going through at that time. Um, and that's when I found somatics. My blood pressure was up, my stress levels were up. I was getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep each night. I had big bags under my eyes, and just not understanding how to get out of this cycle, knowing that I'm in this struggle to survive state, needing to make ends meet, needing to provide for my family, needing to try to keep the pieces together in our relationship, but nothing was really working. And that's when I discovered the power of somatics, the taking a break, taking a pause on my life, and being able to reflect truly on not only how I feel, but how I'm presenting myself to the people around me, and not recognizing that I might be short with them. I might, fly off the handle at one point, or crying for no reason for another. And, just both of us kind of going this back and forth. And that allowed me to better understand what I was experiencing at that time so that we could work through some of the issues that we were dealing with.
If you could define or describe somatics in 20 seconds, how would you best do that?
Yeah. I best define it as, it's a mind body experience, but it's really having an awareness of what your mind is experiencing, whether it's stress, trauma, or just sleepiness or emotional, and connecting it with how your body is experiencing it. So a lot of things that we go through, it manifests in physically in our body, whether it's pain, neck pains, back pains, and being able to sense what's causing that. Again, pushing a pause so that you have that awareness, and then being able to relieve some of that pain through the exercises as well as breath work and meditation.
Okay, cool. When did you write Somatic Exercise Made Simple? Has that been pretty recently?
Yeah, so I have actually two books in the series now. The first one came out last October, and the second one, the Mastery Program, came out this past January. And now both of them are in a nice combined package. You can get both
Cool.
in one book, but there's two books in the series.
You got an award for one of them, right?
Yeah, for the
International
first
Impact.
one.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. What does the International Impact Book Award? What is that? How do you get that? What's required there?
Yeah, so they look at, not just what you wrote about, but, the reviews on the book, what people are saying about it, how the global reach. So, it's not just available here in the US, it's available all over the world. And people are saying positive things that it's actually impacting their life. They're using it and seeing changes. And so I won the award for the health and wellness. So there's different categories.
Okay. So, what would you consider the core principle behind somatic exercise, and how does that differ from traditional forms of exercise?
Yeah. The core principle being, you're in control of your mind and body. So using the three components, the breath work, meditation, and movement combined to heal the body. So it's not just the movement. We use the word exercises and we think, oh, I'm going to for a jog or I'm going to do yoga or lift weights, or it's not just that. You can actually combine, the breath work as well as the meditation with various types of exercises. Now, most of the ones that I talk about in the book are more mobility based. They're simple. They're things that, just a lot of us deal with, especially as we age. We may have had injuries. A lot of people are desk workers, sitting here at Zoom meetings all day or conference calls, things like that. And a lot of the tension builds up in neck, shoulders, and back. Those are my clients, the most common areas. And when you're not managing it, that pain can become chronic. You can get additional injuries or you're just making it harder for the body to heal. So allowing you to, again, use that awareness to take a few moments throughout the day to kind of relieve some of that tension that you might be carrying.
So, I don't want to spoil everything. I definitely want people to have to go to your book. But if I came to you and said, I've got this thoracic back pain, I'm assuming you would give me some sort of mobility stretch, something along those lines. But what would be the mind body slash breath work, the pause that you've mentioned a couple of times? What's that piece
Yeah.
for a thoracic issue?
So it can depend on the amount of time you have. I give my clients techniques so that they can kind of manage it throughout the day. I like to think of it as a toolbox. And so you can pause for as little as 90 seconds or up to 10 minutes. Usually 10 minutes is enough. But, splitting it up, if it's the 90 seconds, kind of 30-second breathing, kind of closing your eyes and breathing, and then taking a moment to have that sense of awareness to say, okay, where am I feeling the pain? What's causing it? If there's specific triggers, and then doing the movements that feel good for you in that moment to help relieve some of that pain. And so I give you a variety of exercises to choose from. And that's what I like about this. It's not like, all right, Danielle told me to do this on this day, and and this on this day. It's really from day to day, I might feel a little bit different and might need different things. And so I can kind of customize it to how I feel. And then using the meditation at the end to really help relax and relieve that tension, letting the muscles relax, and then understanding what those triggers are so you can either avoid them or just having, again, that awareness that this thing triggers me, this movement, this person, and
Yeah.
it causes that additional pain. And just knowing that can help reduce that pain over time as well.
And in your experience, that is that a missing piece, that the mind portion, the pause portion in the
Definitely.
healthcare field in general, I guess, it's probably something. How integral is that in achieving optimal health?
It's a very important piece. I mean, all three together, the breath work. I grew up with childhood asthma. As an adult, I've grown out of it. But one thing have said since learning this techniques, if my doctors taught me how to breathe, different breath techniques, I probably wouldn't have had the number of issues that I had growing up. Some of it was like, oh, I got sick and that induced it. But if I was going for a run, having to run as a youth, that was hard, but nobody actually told me how to breathe properly.
Well, yeah, because you're just trying to survive the run. Who
Right.
has time? Yeah, yeah.
So that's been crucial. Like my physical fitness has been changed because I know how to control my breathing. And then when you control your breath, that relieves tension, that calms the central nervous system, and that allows you to rest at night. For those of us that are insomniacs, calms the body so that you can get in that restoration state and be able to move on to the next day refreshed. Your cortisol levels are lowered, blood pressure levels reduced, and improving longevity.
So my audience is mostly interested in hormonal health, specifically low testosterone.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the relationship between chronic stress, anxiety, unresolved trauma, and hormone levels and how it might impact men and women?
Yeah. I mean, it's all definitely tied when, like I was saying, if you're in that trauma response state, that kind of fight or flight, that constant stress levels are high, it's impacting your sleep. It's not allowing your hormone levels to come back to that neutral balance state. And that's one thing that's great about the somatic exercise. It's about balance, balancing the body, neutralizing. One thing I also say with the exercises, what you do on one side, always do to the other because it's about balance. You can't treat your body unequally. And so doing these exercises on a consistent basis and you find the best time for you. I like to do it in the morning as well as at night, but definitely in the morning because it helps set my mindset for the day and keeps me kind of at a level state so that I'm not at a heightened stress and anxiety level. Sometimes, especially historically for me, as soon as I wake up, I grab my phone, look at my calendar, and I already feel that
Yeah.
anxiety levels creeping up, blood pressure already rising, and I just woke up. And
Yeah.
it may not even have gone that down because I only had 3 hours of sleep. So, doing these activities, all three pieces, breath work, meditation, and movement, allows your body to really reset and get that rest that you need.
And you do those before you go for your phone in the morning?
Yes, definitely.
That's
At
that's a
least the
discipline.
at least the breath work and meditation. I don't always do the movement, but it helps like, okay, I woke up sensing how I feel right now. How did I sleep? Do I have any backaches? Did I sleep weird? Sometimes we sleep a little twisted. I also have a 4-year-old that sometimes ends up in my bed
Yeah.
and her foot in my back. I might need some of the movement in the morning, but I might say, I'm good on the movement, but I really need that meditation to help me set for the day, have a positive outlook on the day, um, thinking about my productivity versus how much work I have to do, just kind of changing my thought around the day. And then if I need it in the middle of the day, maybe I have back-to-back calls, trying to push pause, at least for 90 seconds between the calls to reset. And then in the evening, definitely doing the exercises, especially if you didn't get a chance in the middle of the day, really relieving that tension. The breath work really helps to, I like to use the word melt. You kind of feel the stress melting
Yeah.
out of your muscles and the tension releasing.
So a lot of our listeners on TRT or considering TRT are struggling with things like fatigue, mood swings, and difficulty concentrating. Are those also areas that can be impacted with the somatic exercise?
Yeah, breath work and meditation, especially, you're using that awareness and bringing your attention to specific parts of the body. And so that's training your focus, visualizing, closing your eyes to visualize, okay, it's my back. Where is my back? What does my back look like in my mind? How does it feel when I relax the muscles in my back? How do I look when I start to relax and relieve tension? And having that acute focus on those specific parts of the body, and you work through the various areas that are causing concern, you'll find how that transfers and manifests in other parts of your life, having that acute focus, even just for a few minutes.
I need to point out, so I feel like when people first hear mind body connection, somatic exercise, a lot of my listeners may not take it as seriously as they should. But if you related it to the mind muscle connection that so
Yeah.
many TRT users are after, the lifting weights and whatnot, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And you have to be conscious, and it takes practice, and it's a discipline that you have to develop to contract certain muscles, especially like pecs when you're doing flies and whatnot. You really have to focus and figure out. So I imagine it's similar. It's a discipline that you have to learn to really be inside and connect the two. Just wanted to throw that out there for anybody that's like, listening, thinking, well, what is he talking about? Yeah. So
Yeah, it can take time. Usually, with my book, it's a 28-day program. And so you can find that if you're doing it on a daily basis, even just those few minutes a day, you'll definitely see changes over time. And with the community that I built, we actually work on those things on a pretty regular basis. I mentioned I'm a certified hypnotherapist, so it helps having somebody guide you through that activity, working on the focus rather than relying on yourself to maintain that focus.
And you've done talks on topics like anxiety and transforming trauma and grief. Can you elaborate on how unresolved emotional burdens might indirectly affect hormonal balance and how your somatic practices can aid in processing these experiences?
Yeah, it's really about getting in touch with what's causing the anxiety, where the trauma originated, and having a path forward. So, not necessarily dwelling on, okay, what caused it as much and why I am the way I am, but recognizing you can change. You can't change the past, but you can change the outlook on your future. And that doesn't have to hold you back. And so, really connecting with what you want the future version of yourself to be, whether it's the future version of you a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, and connecting with that.
What about burnout? Burnout is so significant in really every piece of life, but how can you relate or explain understanding our body's signals and implementing your power pause protocol? How does that affect burnout?
Yeah. We talk a lot about triggers and understanding when your body is approaching a burnout state or what situations or things might cause you to get burned out. So knowing, okay, I've experienced this before. What does burnout look like for me? And kind of mitigating it, you addressing your physical and mental space by doing the exercises, as well as creating boundaries for yourself so that you have the opportunity to reset. And so it's really just taking the moments to understand what your body needs so that you can avoid it.
Can you share one or two simple somatic exercises or breathing techniques that would help us incorporate into our daily lives?
Definitely. If you want, I can guide you through a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure. If you want to close your eyes for a moment, start to take
Closed.
a few deep breaths in through your nose and an audible exhale out through your mouth. In through your nose, fill up your belly, expand your lungs, and exhale out through your mouth. Good. On your next inhale, take a deep breath. When your lungs are full, hold at the top. Then exhale out through your nose. Press into your diaphragm as you contract your lungs, expel the oxygen. At the bottom, hold. When you can't hold it any longer, inhale through your nose. Fill up your lungs, hold at the top. Exhale out through your nose. Good. Continue your breath at your own pace. Start to bring awareness to the top of your head. As you continue to breathe, you feel the tension melt down through the sides of your face. Your eyes start to get heavy. You might feel your jaw move as the muscles relax. You have a sense of awareness, your surroundings, the
Mhm.
pace of your breath, the temperature in the room. You're aware of how your mind and body feels in this moment. Now take a moment to draw attention to the part of your body that's causing the most concern. If you can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst, assign it a number. Remember how you feel at this moment. To continue to relax your muscles. Feel the tension relieve down through your neck and shoulders. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. The muscles release down through your lower back, down through your arms, biceps. Feel the energy flow out through your fingertips. You feel the supported seat beneath you. You start to dissolve into your seat. Your legs get heavy. Maybe your knees fall slightly open. You ground down through the ground. Your feet get heavy. Feeling this relaxed version of yourself. Imagine if you were 2 times more relaxed. Feel how good you feel in this moment. Now, so start to bring awareness back into your body. Feel the energy flow up through your toes, through the bottoms of your feet, through your knees and the back of your legs, up through your seat, your lower back, from your fingertips, through your arms, shoulders, and neck, all the way to the top of your head, feeling tingling sensations through your scalp. You start to deepen your breath. And on the exhale, you can open your eyes and come back to the room.
Did you hypnotize me?
No, I just really did a progressive muscle relaxation. So if I went a little deeper, we probably would have been on the track.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as you're talking, and Ricky, I don't know if you were doing it over there too, but as you were talking, I can tell that I need practice with the connection there, because each thing you would say, feel the seat underneath you. Oh yeah, there's a chair there, like I wasn't aware of it until you said it. And mine, you said, like pinpoint, think about what your thing is. Mine was, I've got a lot going on around me outside, and I was, maybe close to like jumping up and throwing this monitor at contractors banging, or, people working in the next room. So it was more of like an emotional stress, mental thing. But yeah, I felt it start melting away. The like second deep breath, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a great technique. And like I said, it's helpful when you have somebody guide you through it or if you have recordings. Because definitely if you're not used to doing it and trying to do it on your own, sometimes having that focus, especially when there's a lot of distractions, it can be challenging.
Yeah. So how do you connect that with like individuals experiencing pain? You addressed it in Pain Relief RX. How do you use the somatic strategies in muscle recovery?
Yeah, so basically similar techniques, going a little bit deeper, identifying those areas that are causing concern and working on those. So, how I asked you to grade it on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So we would assign it a number at that moment and do some more exercises, more progressive relaxation, and then compare that number. Okay, we started here. What is it now after we've done this? And so over time, using that scale, like this number is going down, or, now when I start the session, I might have started at a 10 before. Now I'm starting at a 7. And over time, that number keeps decreasing.
Is there ever a scenario where you're walking through some breathing techniques and some prompting like you were doing, and you're utilizing some sort of stretch or, a tennis ball rolling around, that kind of thing? Or can you not really connect the two?
Yeah. It's usually kind of one after the other, or sometimes depending on the session, we might go back and forth a little bit, like always starting with the breathing, then, doing some of the exercises. If it's in a group setting, it might be a little more general. Sometimes I kind of get a sense of what the group needs, like, oh, a lot of us are dealing with back issues, so we'll focus on back. One on one, we can get more detailed. And then I kind of will go back and forth between, some of the breath work, the movement, really helping individuals get that relaxation, as well as giving them a variety of movement techniques to use so that they can do it on their own time as well. And then always finish with the meditation. So, depending on the amount of time we have, usually my specialty is the hypnotherapy. So, I do the hypnosis as my form of meditation. It helps with mindset, if there's, like I mentioned before, or just other things that individuals are struggling to overcome. We can work on those specific things so that you can move forward.
Yeah. I think if you would have prompted me like that and expected me to be in some sort of child's pose, I would have fallen out. I wouldn't have made it. I appreciate you coming on the show. This has been super insightful. What would you say is one key takeaway that you would like our listeners to remember regarding the somatic, the mind body connection, and in regards to hormonal health?
Is just remember that you're ultimately in control of your mind and body. And so even when you feel like hormones have me out of control, you can take the moments you need to regain that control.
Very good. And where can we learn more about you, connect with you, work with you?
Yeah. Dr. Danielle Griff is my website, and you can also find me same Dr. Danielle Griff on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, pretty much all the channels.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thanks. Bye.
Appreciate you.